UFC 305 just wrapped up. Israel Adesanya took on Dricus du Plessis in the main event. Kai Kara-France took on Steve Erceg in the co-main event. Dan Hooker Gamrat was the feature bout. Tai Tuivasa took on Jairzinho Rozenstruik in the fourth fight. And Li Jingliang took on Carlos Prates in the main card opener. Let's get into the fight card, break it down, give you my overall thoughts and opinions on what happened, some of the storylines surrounding it, maybe some matchups to look into next, and just the whole package in general. Well, let me start off by saying this card exceeded my every expectation. I really was worried about a couple of the fights being a little bit stale, a little bit slower than we expect them to be. I thought Li Jingliang coming off the injury and Prates coming in. I was really excited to see Prates, for example, come in there and light Li Jingliang up. But it was a pretty good back and forth. They both were landing some big shots, and finally Prates put him away. Tai Tuivasa and Jairzinho Rozenstruik, I thought that was going to be a banger. I thought that was one of the guaranteed bangers on the card, and it ended up being one of the more boring fights on the card by a long shot. They went to decision. Jairzinho won that fight. Dan Hooker, Gamrat, that one was an absolute scrap. I was worried that Gamrat was just going to grab Dan's legs and lay on him, nut hug him, put his nuts in his face, and just sit on him for 3 whole rounds. I got to give credit to Gamrat. In a loss, he put kind of a beating that he's never really shown that he could give out on Dan Hooker in the first round. I was really impressed by some of the ground and pound that he started to get off. Maybe he's training with DDP, training at ATT, he's just getting better as a fighter in general now that he's moved over to ATT full-time. Who knows? Let's see. But Dan Hooker got the unanimous. I think it was a split decision, actually. That was a good scrap. Dan was able to just insert himself, assert his will on the feet, and Gamrat was able to kind of get to him on the legs, get in on some takedowns and do his thing. On to the co-main event. Erceg's my guy, man. He's just a fun, normal guy, and Kai Kara-France caught him, man. I was totally coping about it at the time last night during the fights, but Kai Kara-France, shout out to him, man. He took a couple on the chin, and he just came forward and threw some big old meaty hooks, and he put Steve Erceg out on the feet. Steve Erceg was able to survive after the first knockdown, got up, and Kai just put it back on him. Steve couldn't recover. Kai's got heavy hands. He's short and stocky, kind of like a little, not quite a little Michael Chandler, but Kai Kara-France versus Steve Erceg. That was a first-round finish for Kai Kara-France. And then finally, the main event, the fight we've all been waiting for. The build-up has been insane. The animosity, the hatred from Izzy's side, the, trying to gain some validity in MMA, Dricus' side. Dricus was able to defeat Israel by 4th-round submission. Rear naked choke, kind of a neck crank more than anything because the choke wasn't really sunk in fully. But man, credit to Izzy in this one. He came forward, was more aggressive than he has been in most other fights, and really kind of put it on, touching up DDP. DDP was up on the scorecards, but in all honesty, the rounds were so close in terms of what damage was going where. Izzy was definitely looking better, doing damage, and Dricus was just kind of hitting him with those bigger shots, kind of hurting him, wobbling him on the feet a little bit here and there. So it was much like the Sean Strickland fight, kind of a toss-up in terms of the rounds. Dricus won the second, and then he finally submitted Israel in the fourth. Shout out to those guys for putting on a great fight. Here we go. Here's the image. MMA Guru got his win. Allegedly, this guy was in the hospital, and he just couldn't miss the downfall of Israel Adesanya. That was pretty funny. I was able to tune in and watch Guru for a few minutes. It was pretty fun. I also tuned in to see Kenny Okoye kind of making a name for himself as a professional Israel Adesanya fan. Man, the disappointment on this guy's face was really really saddening. I felt for him. I'm not a huge Izzy fan, but I loved what Izzy brought in the fight. It was a really fun fight from both sides. Really great stuff. Dricus du Plessis, let's get into it. Start with the first fight. Dricus du Plessis is now the world middleweight champion, defending his title. Very impressive stuff. He was able to just weather the storm, get off his crazy wild striking on the feet. He did really well on the feet considering what people were saying about what Izzy would do to him. Izzy kind of did get off on him, but Dricus was able to just come forward on the feet, put it on Izzy when he needed to, throw combos, and land that 3rd or 4th strike in the combo, and that's what we need to see more of. You barely ever see this from anybody. Everybody just throws kind of a 1-2, maybe a kick in the middle there. Dricus was coming forward with a 3, 4, 5, 6 punch combo, and he would land on Izzy as Izzy was backing up, much like how Sean Strickland was getting to Izzy. When Izzy would back up and get out of range, or so he thought he was out of range, Dricus would come with a high kick. Maybe it didn't land. Izzy was able to get a hand up and block it, but Dricus was just able to push him back, kind of get him up against the cage sometimes, and this is where he was able to get successful with the takedowns. He even had some takedowns in the middle of the cage when Israel would throw a kick and Dricus would just come in and take him off balance. That was really impressive. He was able to get Izzy down, hold him down. He brought it up in the post-fight. Izzy does have great takedown defense. Like, we can't all deny that. He basically trains his really good technical striking ability, and he trains takedown defense. He doesn't worry a lot about, takedowns and submission offense. He worries about getting up, using his takedown defense to stay off the mat. That was really, really good from Dricus. Great performance. Israel also looked pretty good, and Dricus just had everything for him, and Israel really just had not enough steam on his punches to put Dricus in any type of serious danger, even though Dricus was looking like he was getting clipped quite a bit on the feet. So, in terms of the whole aftermath, the whole thing going on after the fight, here we are. The boys buried the hatchet, shook hands, got over themselves. I gotta say, just on the looks of it, I feel like if Izzy won, he wouldn't have been treating Dricus so nicely just because of the hatred from his side, but I think he appreciated what Dricus did. Dricus got on the mic, was respecting Izzy, didn't say a bad thing about him. It was great to see all the family here. This is just a really nice moment. Because I don't think Dricus was coming at him with such heat. I think Israel kind of just took it out of context, took it the wrong way, whatever it was. Really good to see all this stuff. And this is what we like to see in MMA. Sometimes the hatred runs deep, and I just think Izzy kind of took it out of context, took it too far, kind of was brainwashing himself, telling himself too much that Dricus was just this evil bad guy, and he just really wasn't. Love to see this. I'm going to play it again just because it's nice. But here we go. Dricus is handing him a South African jacket. Really cool looking jacket. And it was just good overall. Glad that Dricus was able to get on the mic and shout out Izzy, give him a couple props. Because he's good. I mean, he's good at what he does. No denying that. I was rooting for Dricus, but I'm so glad that Israel came forward and put on a good fight. That's for damn sure. Yeah, it wasn't Israel's night, man. He just got finished by Dricus. Dricus was a better man there. Israel said it himself. But we got to acknowledge the Drake curse strikes again. Put down $450,000. Imagine putting that much on a bet, dude. Like, holy shit. I think Israel was even the favorite heading into the fight at the last moment. So, Drake curse strikes again. Let's break it down, numbers by numbers. Here we go. Dricus versus Israel Adesanya. 4th round, 3 minutes and 38 seconds. Submission. It was, like I said, rear naked choke. Dricus was able to hurt him on the feet, kind of just coming forward, running, blitzing on him. Israel was trying to skirt the cage, run away from him, as he should have been. He got clipped by him. Dricus was able to just come forward on him, land a couple of those shots, get those kind of a sloppy combo going. This was really a fun fight because Dricus was just coming in with reckless abandonment at sometimes, getting sloppy, and Israel was just doing his thing, man. He was just kind of picking his shots, slip, uppercut kind of thing. It was really nice to see. Fun fight. This is what we want to see. Both showed toughness and grit, and ultimately Dricus got it done. Total strikes, 99 from Dricus, 105 to Izzy. I thought some of the numbers that the UFC on the broadcast was showing were really weird, not really quite accurate. Dricus was 4 for 9 on takedowns. That sounds about right. 2 submission attempts. He had the rear naked sunk in the second round at one point, but Israel was able to kind of squirm out of there. He's got really skinny hips, and he's able to get out of that body triangle probably a lot easier than most guys are. First round, Dricus landed more strikes, but Israel definitely landed the better strikes in that round. Round 2 was where Dricus kind of started to take over. Even though Israel landed more strikes, it was mostly due to the body shots and leg strikes for sure. Round 3, Israel was kind of doing better in the 3rd round, and Dricus took over in the 4th. Anyway, allegedly Dricus was up 2-1 heading into the 4th. My guess is he won the 1st and the 2nd, and Izzy won the 3rd. And I don't know, you could go either way on the 1st, but The first was pretty close. Second was definitely Dricus, and third, I think, was definitely Izzy. Significant strikes. Let's go total full fight. 90 to 97. Okay. And significant strikes, by the way, just to put it out there for anybody who doesn't know, significant strikes are supposed to be strikes at range. So they're not even who had the most damaging shots. It's really who can strike at range, like who's hitting the long range shots, the hitting you at the end of your punches type of thing, not a tight inside. These aren't, if I'm dirty boxing and hitting you inside and slipping, that's not a significant strike. A significant strike is a fully extended arm strike or a fully extended leg strike. I don't understand how that really even makes any sense, but it is what it is. On to the next co-main event. Kai Kara-France took on Steve Erceg. I love Steve Erceg, man. Great character. Fun guy, just a calm guy. He's just a man of the people. We saw in the embeddeds that he even still trains younger kids at his gym. That's really cool to see. Really inspiring. Just an average, normal guy coming into the UFC doing his thing. Kai Kara-France was able to put him away in just barely a minute. Put him out on the feet. Really impressive performance from Kai. Kai was the shorter guy. He wasn't having a lot of success early in the fight. They were both kind of throwing some leg kicks. Steve Erceg was landing more of those strikes on the calves of Kai Kara-France. Kai Kara-France was kind of waiting, almost like a explosive, I'm just going to wait and pick my shots, time my shots over the top. That was pretty smart against Erceg because Erceg just has clean, crisp boxing, and if you can catch him extending on a combo like Kai Kara-France did with a big overhand, lights out. Steve Erceg. Kai Kara-France, impressed. Showed out. After that loss to Amir Albazi, he was out for I think he's been out for over a year now. Comes out, shows up for the Australian crowd in style, took out the hometown crowd guy, stopped Steve Erceg in the first round, got that first huge punch in, was able to hurt Steve Erceg. Erceg fell to the ground. I'm glad the ref didn't step in there because Erceg was still in it. He grabbed Kai Kara-France's leg. They had a couple of scrambles there. Kai was kind of hitting him on the inside. Erceg was just trying to clinch up, stay safe, keep his head out of danger. Kai was able to push him up against the fence and just land another huge, I think it was a left overhand, and just perched Steve Erceg down. Steve was still up and awake. He didn't put him out to sleep, but Erceg was really just in danger, really hurt there. I was coping about it at the time, but man, you can't deny Kai Kara-France was able to just put his shit all in a line and get it done, baby. Really, really impressed by him. Glad to see him get back in the win column. He is a fun fighter to watch. Hopefully Steve Erceg can get back on the high horse, come back, get a good win. I think he's got the potential to be something good. He's young, hungry, still learning, still earning everything he wants in life. And let's see him get it done soon. I'm glad Kai Kara-France got a win, but I'm sad Steve Erceg lost. That is what it is. And on to one of the more entertaining fights of the card. Gamrat, Dan Hooker. Really, really impressed by Dan Hooker in this one. He was able to just weather an early storm from Mateusz Gamrat. Gamrat, always threatening with the takedowns. Really, really good ground technician. Had Hooker worried in the first round. He was able to land some big meaty hooks on Hooker. Had Hooker hurt, cut early in the fight. Hooker was able to weather the storm. He got taken down, was able to get up each time. Really, really impressed by Dan Hooker's performance here. Weathering an early storm, weathering the damage, weathering the danger that Gamrat poses on the ground, and Dan Hooker was able to just put it on him when they were on the feet. He just had the range, he had the length on Gamrat, and this is where he won the fight. And I was just really impressed by Dan Hooker because of what he has done, his couple of losses that he's had, and then the win over Jalen Turner. Jalen Turner, as we know, was looking really good, but maybe isn't quite as good as we thought. Dan Hooker got a win over him with a broken arm. Maybe that says something. With a broken arm, he was still able to beat somebody as legitimate as Jalen Turner. Maybe he's going to put it all together. His tattoos. Tatted up Dan Hooker, mythical fighter here. Who knows? I was just impressed. Really, really fun fight. Gamrat was trying to do his thing on the ground. Looked a lot better than he has. Landing ground and pound. Looking better on the feet than he has. Just posed more danger than he has in any of his last previous fights. And I was really impressed by Gamrat, I gotta be honest. But split decision. I gotta say, it was really close. I was worried Gamrat was gonna get it, but I'm glad Hooker got it. Maybe there was some hometown bias there. Maybe not. Maybe there was. Let's look at the scorecards for this one because it is on MMA decisions. Let's see. So, Ben Cartledge had it 29. Here we go, finally. So, Ben Cartledge had it for Dan Hooker, first and third round, while he gave it to Gamrat in the second. I thought Hooker won the second and third, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch it. Mark Christie, first and third for Hooker again. And then Mick Meaney, first and second for Gamrat. I just didn't think Gamrat won the second at all. Hooker definitely landed the better shots on the feet, and Gamrat was definitely doing some damage, more damage than usual while on the ground. But in the second round, he kind of rode Hooker more than he did in the first. Glad to see these boys actually got into a scrap. I was worried it was going to just be a stale, boring decision from Gamrat. I'm glad to see Dan Hooker back in the win column. I'm excited to see what's in store for him. Gamrat always going to be hanging around, always a dangerous guy in terms of how he can assert himself into the fight. Always just bullying guys in the wrestling. Great wrestler, athletic guy. On to the next. Tai Tuivasa, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Not much to say here. I really wanted Tai to win. I thought he would kind of go out there, blitz Jairzinho. Jairzinho likes to keep things clean, and when he can't, he doesn't do very well on the feet. Tai Tuivasa was able to just hang back and play a counter-striking game. He didn't really go for it until the third round. Not really sure what happened. Not much to say here. Very disappointed in Tai Tuivasa's performance. Jairzinho Rozenstruik, he just did what he had to do to win. But let's talk about this fucking scorecard. Jesus Christ, man. Let's go by the numbers real quick before we get into anything else. 19-9 in terms of Jairzinho Rozenstruik to Tai Tuivasa's 9 strikes. 19-9 on strikes. Tai Tuivasa did not hit Jairzinho, but I guess 9, but he didn't hit him clean but 1 or 2 times, and they weren't heavy shots in the first round. Second round, 37-13, bro. I don't even know what to say. 37-13, same kind of thing. Tai hit him a couple times cleaner. Hit him with some hooks kind of on the break as Jairzinho was in on a clinch scenario kind of thing, and he broke away from the clinch. Tai was able to clip him a little bit, but he didn't hurt him. He never hurt Jairzinho. The third round, Tai had the most success of the fight, and it was still 36-15. Full fight. Tai landed 37 shots, and Jairzinho landed 92. They're heavyweights, man. This isn't Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Power versus no power. These guys both have power. Tai definitely has more power, but this fucking idiot, Howie Booth, bro. He gave all 3 rounds to Tai Tuivasa. In what world, my guy? Charlie Keech, first round to Tai Tuivasa. If anything, the third round to Tai Tuivasa. David Letheby coming in clutch with the 10s across the board. I mean, imagine if, this is how you always got to think of this stuff. There's always bound to be one dumbass when it comes to these scorecards. Whoever's judging out of the 3, there's always going to be, assume as a fighter that there's always going to be one dumbass that's going to make a completely wrong scorecard. Howie Booth. Imagine if Charlie Keech saw it how I saw it and gave Tuivasa the third round. We would have a dominant beatdown that Jairzinho put on Tai Tuivasa, getting a loss. We would have Tai Tuivasa winning in an absolute beatdown. Do you understand what I'm saying? If there's one stupid guy in there and then one guy, Charlie Keech, who's kind of like, maybe iffy on this, imagine what we would have had. Tai Tuivasa in a win. Howie Booth, he judged this fight, and then he was supposed to judge the co-main event. Ultimately, they didn't need the judges for the co-main event. Kai Kara-France was able to knock out Steve Erceg in the first round. But good God, man, what the hell is going on here? How can you be so stupid? Anyway, I don't have anything else to say. Disappointed by Tai Tuivasa. It is what it is. On to the next. Li Jingliang versus Carlos Prates. Second round KO. Brutal finish over Li Jingliang. Li Jingliang's first knockout loss via Carlos Prates. big left hook, big meaty hook, as Lucas Tracy would say. Carlos Prates, man, he was the dangerous, just gutsy, gritty fighter coming into this one. Long and lanky, as Josh Thompson likes to say. Total fight outlanded Lee 55-41. He was getting off great leg kicks, doing some damage to Lee, throwing hooks to the body as well. Prates is just a dangerous striker, man. I don't trust his ground game yet. I have to see him work on the ground in another fight. But Li Jingliang, he came to fight, man. He was throwing some big hooks, landed a couple on Prates. I was pretty impressed by Li Jingliang. After being off for almost 2 years, he was able to come back and do what he did. Very, very good showing, coming off of a long injury layoff. But Carlos Prates just put him away, man. This guy is so dangerous, just every facet of the striking. He's so long and he's got such a diversity of strikes. But what really did it for him was just, he would flick out the jab and then he would just come straight down the pipe with a perfect, clean, just straight. Right down the pipe, he would just landing at will on Lee's face. Right on the chin. Very accurate, very dangerous from Carlos Prates. I'm excited to see what he's got next, man. Li Jingliang is a tough test. He wasn't ranked because he's been out for so long, but he just, that finishing sequence where he just was landing left hook and then touch him with the right, left hook, touch him with the right, left hook, hard left hooks. And he just put Li Jingliang face down, ass up. Good God. I mean, this guy's got something going for him. I'm not sure how great and how high he can really ascend without a strong ground game, but man, oh man, this guy always, anytime Prates is on a card, I'm here for it. This guy's dangerous. This guy's fun to watch. Great showing from both guys, but Carlos Prates got it done, got a brutal finish. I hope that he got the finish, or the bonus for his finish. Really, really showed out. Really, really impressive here. Look for him to get a top 15 matchup maybe next, or something just outside the rankings. This guy's coming for some heads, and I think he can pull it off. This guy's going to go a lot further than we think he might have previous to this fight. On to the prelims. Walter Waka, Junior Tafa. Junior Tafa was able to land a couple strikes on the feet. Nothing too impressive. Walter Waka got to his back. Junior Tafa screamed out in agony, and the referee stepped in and waved it off. John McCarthy and other referees say it all the time. I'm sure they said it even in the back. If you tap on the ground to strikes, if you tap to a submission on the guy, on the ground, or you verbally tap by screaming out in pain, the referee is going to step in and stop the fight. Junior Tafa clearly on the replay screamed in agony. Some kind of roll up with the leg. What can you say? It is what it is. Two floppy heavyweights, don't really care. It is what it is. Ricardo Ramos got the win over Josh Kulal. That was kind of a fun, scrappy fight. Kulal was kind of making light of things after the second round. The first round was pretty dangerous. Ramos had his back. Had a choke sunken in. Really, really deep. Josh Kulal, great defense to get out of it. Ricardo Ramos, ultimately in the third round, despite having his leg torn apart in the second round by Josh Kulal, the guy could barely stand, and he came out in the third round, was able to assert his will on Josh Kulal, just kind of dance around, avoid damage, avoid danger as much as possible. Josh Kulal just isn't really a dangerous fighter, and ultimately that's how Ricardo Ramos was able to get to win. I really thought Josh Kulal could pull it out just because he's just a better fighter. He's the better overall, well-rounded, better takedowns, better wrestling, better jiu-jitsu. He's not as dangerous of a finisher as Ricardo Ramos. But man, when you got a guy's leg that torn up in the second round and you can't finish him in the third round, not very impressive from Josh Kulal. Disappointed that he got the loss because he was looking good, having fun in there. It is what it is. The women's fight, Casey ONeal versus Luana Santos. Luana Santos taking this on short notice, kind of a month off of her last fight. Casey ONeal just dominated her in every aspect. Bigger, stronger than her. Was able to just come forward with crazy lady strikes on the feet. Not much to say. Not very impressive of a performance from Casey ONeal. Just kind of flooded Luana Santos on the feet. Just came forward with 10, 15 punch combos. Not landing super dangerous strikes. Was able to just come forward with strikes. Get in on takedowns. Throw her to the ground foot sweeps, all the kind of stuff. She just pulled everything out of the hat. Luana Santos just didn't really have anything for her. She's not really ready for the big stage. Casey O'Neill is just bigger, stronger in every way, and I'd say that's probably where she was able to just dominate. She's not necessarily the better, more skilled fighter. She's not a greatly skilled fighter. She's just tough, durable, strong, and big for the division. Good for her. Casey O'Neill got the win over Luana Santos. Jack Jenkins, Herbert Burns. Herbert Burns once again leaves the cage in tears, a broken man, a weak man, just not a fighter at all. Jack Jenkins able to just... Listen, I got to give Herbert credit. He was able to get in on some takedowns and throw Jack Jenkins to the ground at times and threaten with some submissions, but overall, Jack Jenkins just... Maybe it was the long layoff after the injury, the arm break against Chepe Mariscal last September. Jack Jenkins got in there, threw those leg strikes, beat up Herbert Burns' legs, has great combinations when he can go to the body and to the head. He was able to hurt Herbert to the body multiple times, beat up Herbert's left leg very, very badly. The guy couldn't even stand. He was laying back, waiting for Jack Jenkins to come into his guard, just like most of these guys that are relying on their jiu-jitsu. He just hung in there. Barely hung in there. Jack Jenkins was able to finish him in the third round. Jack was landing really, really good on the feet. Herbert in the second round kind of showed out and showed up. Put on not a dominant display of his grappling, but he was able to get in on Jack and hold him down for quite an extended period of time in the second round. Third round, Jack Jenkins put him to work, damaged that leg, beat him up to the body, struck him with clean hooks to the body and to the head, and just was able to land those, like I said, with the Dricus thing. The 1-2 and then the third over the top. That's what these guys got to throw. You can't throw 1-2. You got to throw a full combination, 3-4-5. Land those fourth and fifth shots on Herbert Burns. Those was really great performance from Jack Jenkins and his long layoff. Herbert Burns, again, just a broken man. Not much to say. I don't have anything personal against the guy. I don't even dislike the guy. I really am just pretty apathetic towards Herbert Burns, but the guy's just not built for fighting. He leaves the cage crying every time, like he's been beat down and just absolutely dominated when he's really only been damaged by a couple of shots. Early prelims, Tom Nolan versus Alex Reyes. We know Alex Reyes does not have what it takes, and he does not belong in the UFC. The odds had Tom Nolan as a huge favorite, and he was able to skirt by just barely in a 3-round decision. Not impressed by Tom Nolan. I'm glad he got the win as the hometown Australian guy, but nothing really impressive here. Song Kanong, Ricky Glenn, as we all saw on Twitter. Ricky Glenn had a huge Easter egg on his head, the huge hematoma. Song Kanong, just the heavier striker. I thought he could get it done with strikes. Ricky Glenn hung in there tough, did his thing. A good technician on the feet, Ricky Glenn, just well-rounded everywhere. He did just enough to survive a unanimous decision. Multiple decisions here in a row. Nothing really impressive. Ricky Glenn, Alex Reyes do not belong in the UFC anymore. Song Kanong, Tom Nolan, clearly. Tom Nolan's young, though. He's still developing. He's got potential to be better. I'll give him that. But Song Kanong's getting older. Nothing really excellent here. Nothing really interested me. Nothing truly impressive from anyone down here. Stuart Nicole had kind of a layup here going in with Jesus Agalar. The Australian hometown guy was supposed to get a win. Instead, Jesus Agalar locked in a submission 2 minutes into the fight. Pretty impressive from him to come over, get the win. Let's look at this record. I don't really care much for this guy. He's not super impressive, but they're two flyweights, always scrappy. It was pretty fun on the feet for a minute before they got the takedown, ultimately submitted him. Let's look at Jesus Aguilar's record recently, just because I'm curious. He has won quite a few in a row. Not the best wins. Shannon Ross, obviously not a great win. Mendonça is pretty legit. Lost to Tyra back in the couple weeks. When was that? Early last year. I think Nicole, they wanted him to win because Jesus Aguilar hasn't been super impressive yet, but he showed that he belongs on the big stage. He is a player at flyweight. Good for him. But that's it for UFC 305. My breakdown of what happened. Didn't get too technical here, just playing out kind of the scenario stories surrounding the fights. Good for Dricus, got the win, bringing it home to South Africa. In the post-fight interview, trying to, pay some respects to Izzy, unite Africa as a whole. Israel was able to finally come to his senses, maybe accept that Dricus isn't such a bad guy. I'm glad to see them bury the hatchet. Really, really good stuff. Let's watch this video again. Here's the families uniting. Dricus giving him the jacket. Love to see this. But ultimately, the thrill and agony of defeat. What a great fight. Great fights all around. The card really impressed me overall. Tai Tuivasa Rosenstrike let me down, but Israel Adesanya Dricus put on a great fight. Kai Kara-France had a great finish. Hooker had a great gutsy win over Gamrat. In the opening fight, Carlos Prates was able to show what he's made out of, beat down and take out Li Jingliang for the first time. Prelims were good, fun overall, but nothing really impressive on the prelims. The main card showed up. Really solid main card. Glad that the UFC was able to go to Perth, put on exciting fights for the Australian people. UFC 305, that's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.